Napoleon Hill once said that knowledge becomes power only to the extent that it is organized, classified, and put into action. Today I was chatting with Joshua Evans, who owns a Pokemon cards collectibles business. Joshua is currently in the process of building out his website. And in this video and in this conversation, we talk about organizing some of these well-known marketing concepts and plugging them into his website. And what I hope that does for you is you can think of ideas that you can extrapolate, and then you can plug these concepts into your website as well.
When talking about the specific design and layout of the site, and figuring out how to wording things that are like simple, having something unexpected, things that are concrete, credible, emotional stories, like the things that you're listing here. I'm having a hard time for both influence levers and viral levers. Having a hard time trying to picture how I'm going to implement those things, or more specifically, all of those things on my site.
I hear you. So I think that's a great opportunity for you to set yourself apart, because what you're saying is it might be a little bit easier if you're in like the weight loss industry. It's very easy for you to be like, hey, here's the problem. The problem is like you feel like shit and you're overweight, your clothes don't fit. It's really tangible. It's an easy thing. There's low hanging fruit to pick from where you just go, these are all the problems. When you grab your waist, you can feel 5 pounds of fat in your hand and it just disgusts you. Right. Those are all very tangible, concrete ways of saying you've got a problem and these are the obstacles you're experiencing. And this is how I'm going to help you through it. And these are the results that you're going to get. Very easy to do, extremely easy to do.
Yes.
The challenge for you is how can you do that with Pokemon cards? Because it's not as easy to do. But the thing is, imagine if you could, because if you could make that as tangible, like we were talking about tangibility and concreteness, figuring out what those problems are. There's always problems. There's psychological problems. There's perceived psychological problems. There's all kinds of different layers of problems, because problems are also relative and they're also subjective. So what are those? Because if the biggest problem comes down to trust, because you're wiring someone a large sum of money for a collectible item over the internet, maybe the overwhelming problem that most people experience is trust. So maybe the thing that you're building on more than anything is that social proof, is that authority, and is that unity more than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down there. That makes sense to me. So isolating my strengths per se, and the things that relate more to specifically the industry that I'm in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just as an aside, like this brings us kind of back full circle to a little bit of what we were saying about unexpectedness, challenging the status quo, identifying what's counterintuitive. If you're able to deploy things in a way that no one else is in your industry, that's potentially going to be like your most effective lever. So if everyone else is focusing on just having the inventory and the supply, well, as soon as someone else comes along with the inventory and supply, all of a sudden, all of their competitive edge has disappeared. So now, as soon as you introduce all of your strengths, which are authority, social proof, and unity, which is, through your community, then all of a sudden you have a massive competitive edge and they don't.
Yes. Yes, I agree with that. Just finding a way to implement that and be able to present that on the site is what I just can't picture in my head at the moment. That's something I need like some help with.
And that's the challenge. But what I also kind of just want to motivate you to think about is that example for everything else that you're kind of struggling with. So where to implement your story. So you're saying with like the products, like you couldn't think of a way that you would implement a story. I mean, I can think of tons of examples where you put like 2 to 3 sentences in there that just implement a little story. I mean, what's this? Like you could tell a story about any of the characters on the card. I mean, what's one of your favorite episodes where Charizard?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charizard does something memorable or funny, or only people who are really in the community we would actually like fully comprehend and appreciate. That's just one example that you could plug into the product description, where you have just a moment from a show or from a video game or anything that might be memorable for someone else, and you just plug that in there in part of the product description.
Okay.
So it's just using these as kind of ideas for creativity, and then seeing what works and seeing what, if you put that in the product description and then you start getting some positive feedback and you do that at scale with all your products, it might be something that you're known for. And then it might just be like a unique trait that people are attracted to, and it could be something that goes viral in the community because no one's ever done it before. So just because there's not that low hanging fruit that there would be in other industries like weight loss or if you're selling cars or whatever it is, there's a ton of services that have these easy low hanging fruits. But the opportunity that you have is that when you don't see obvious low hanging fruit, you can use these as inspiration to figure out what that might be creative with it, and then use it as like a competitive edge over your competition.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that. That was a good example that you used. I definitely appreciate that. I feel like that'd be a lot easier to use for something like a one product website or a few products. For me, where I literally have I don't know, 700 cards for sale. It would take me like way too much time to come up with like 700 stories. But maybe for some of the more noteworthy cards, for example, I could start with that.
Totally. Yeah. And it's just a matter of what's like realistic for you to do. It might not be realistic for you to have 700 different stories, but maybe you have, if you have a couple different tiers of cards you're selling, if you have some that range from $50 to $500, maybe for that, you just have like a universal story of, maybe it's just your story of how you just started collecting and this grew into a passion. It's just like a very universal beginning, middle, end. And you just plug that into all of that. It's just copy paste. And it's just something that people can kind of see likeness in, like they can see themselves in. And then for the more higher end, if you're selling cards for $5,000 to $10,000, then that's where maybe you spend a little bit more time on creating a story that's unique to that. And again, it's just an example, but like where else can you plug these into in ways that other people in your industry aren't thinking to do, because it's just not easy. Those are where all of the kind of the chinks in the armor are. And as soon as you exploit them, it's the thing that could be really big for you and can be really detrimental to your competition.